Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the E-commerce Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Curry, CEO of OMG Commerce. And today I have a longtime friend, a legend, someone that you have undoubtedly heard of. You probably follow this guy on the regular. We were just researching prior to hitting record. We were wondering, how long have we actually known each other? And turns out we first met in October of 2016. So that's forever ago in internet years for sure. So my guest today is the man himself, Kurt Elster, the co-founder of EtherCycle and the host of the unofficial Shopify podcast, one of the best podcasts out there. Oh, I heard that. That was your, what was that sound effect, Kurt? Let's dial that up one more time. Go ahead.
The air horn?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I think in fact, I'm confident you are the only guest I've ever had on this show that brings their own sound effects. And that's just one of the benefits of being a podcast host yourself.
Yeah, it's a dubious honor, but I have fun with it.
That is awesome. And so, we have a really close mutual friend, Ezra Firestone. And actually, you and I kind of were able to sync up again, I guess, back in... When was that? We were in Miami together. We both spoke at Ezra's event in Miami, and I heard your presentation. I was like, dude, you got to come back on the podcast. It's been too long. But you've got the best clip, the best sound effect from Ezra Firestone that I hear in a number of your episodes. But dial that up if you would, and then explain to folks what that means.
Tech nasty.
That's Ezra.
Tech nasty.
2 years ago, he would call me Tech nasty. And then 2 years ago, out of nowhere, he writes a freestyle rap, records it.
That's what he
sends
does.
it to me, in which he refers to me as Tech nasty. And so I was like, well, that's great. And I played it on my show, but like the one time. But the Tech nasty soundbite I took. And now every time I introduce myself, I use that like a sound signature. And it's a fun thing. I was like, I'm your host, Kurt Elster. And then I just move past it. Like I don't address it.
People are like, that was cool. I don't know what that was, but that was cool, and I embrace it.
And by the 8th time, they're like, yeah, that's Tech nasty.
Tech nasty. So Ezra has that skill set. He will freestyle rap for you. He did that on a podcast episode with me one time. I need to go back and listen to that. But I would love to hear the Tech nasty freestyle rap. It sounds amazing.
Skill 1. Can you freestyle rap? That's hard enough on its own. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure
you even do it?
You could really practice and like fake it once. Step 2, do you have the insane level of confidence required to just start freestyle rapping as a 40-year-old white man?
Do it. Just do it as you're recording. Just lay it out there and lay it out there with some gusto, with some bravado, and he does that, which is awesome. So, hey man, I'm super excited about this. So, we're going to talk about split testing everything. So, assume nothing, split test everything, right? So, how do we improve our performance? How do we make more money with our Shopify podcast? With our Shopify websites. Shopify podcast, you run one.
Harder to split test.
You guys just hit a milestone not too long ago, didn't you, with the unofficial Shopify podcast?
We did. We just hit 2 million downloads.
2 million downloads. I want to be as good as you one day, Kurt Elster. When I grow up, I would like to be a podcast host.
All right, here's the trick. You could brute force it by just never stopping. I'm over 400 episodes. It's every week. We never miss one.
400 episodes, one episode a week. You never miss it. That's awesome. I've been doing this now since 2017. This show. I did another show prior to that. But I haven't been as consistent. I went through a period of time where it was like once or twice a month. You kind of lose momentum. So consistency
Here's the trick.
Is key.
Get yourself some sponsors. Now it's a client deliverable.
Yes.
And if you miss it, you got to send that refund. That hurts.
That does hurt. Yeah, make it like a client where it's like I can't let a client down. I can let myself down, or right? I can push it to the side if it's just for us. But yeah, for a client, got to make it happen. So a couple things. You guys work with some really impressive brands, including Hoonigans and a few other automotive brands, and maybe my favorite, most interesting in my point of view, Jay Leno's Garage, right? Which is cool. So I want you to talk about that. But before we do, I would like to talk about Kurt Elster's garage because you and I are friends on Facebook. We get to hang out and chat a little bit, but you've got a bit of an eclectic collection of cars, maybe not to the size or scope of Jay Leno, a few people do, but you got some cool rides, man. So talk about what is in Kurt Elster's garage.
All right, so the daily driver, the crazy one, I got a 2017 Model S 100D. That's the quick one, the big sedan. But it was boring silver. I don't want silver. So
this is a Tesla, right? For those that may not know.
Yeah, it's Tesla. Yeah, the big.
So 0 to 60 in what? What's your 0 to 60 time?
3.9 on this one.
Nice.
Yeah, it's quick. And it just goes like, it makes Jetsons noises. It goes, whoop, and you're just going to do it at 60.
It's crazy.
But we vinyl wrapped it. This satin yellow gold color. It's the same as this microphone if you've got the video version. It's like, that's the vinyl we used. And that is I put wheels on it and tints, and that's the coolest thing. I love that car.
It's a beauty, man. I've seen you get some stylized photos of that thing. It is a beauty.
I got a client's product photographer to come shoot photos of it. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
But my wife's the cool one. She has the really cool cars. She always wanted a Volkswagen Beetle. I said I could figure that out. So she bought a 79 Super Beetle, the last year they made in the US.
Yeah.
And it had been repainted as good shape, but lots of deferred maintenance. So I got that back on the road, running strong. I love that car. It's got 60 horsepower, slowest thing in the world, and that is like pure driving experience.
It's such a good juxtaposition, right? So it's such the opposite of the Tesla.
Yes.
That it's so fun. Like you go digital, then you go analog. It's super fun.
They're like, we gave you just enough what you need to not die. And then the car she daily drives, she found, negotiated, bought, and had shipped here. And then I discovered it had like a ton of problems, and we had to pull the motor. An 84 Ford Bronco.
Dude, that's my favorite. The 84
all
Bronco
original.
It's just a beauty.
That's my favorite too.
Yeah.
Oh, we love that
fun
thing.
Yeah.
It's like 10 miles per gallon.
Which isn't the best right now, but hey, come on, you balance it with the Tesla. It's so fun. Like you and I live online. We're always doing digital stuff. We're thinking AI, machine learning, and algorithms and all this stuff. And sometimes it's fun to just have something that has no internet connectivity. It's still you smell the exhaust and you hear the sound of the engine as you rev up. And it's a beautiful thing.
It's like driving a lazy boy recliner. It's great.
It's just comfortable. So that's awesome. Well, hey, for some of you, that was a blast. For others, you're like,
what's up with these
e-commerce? I don't care about what's in your garage. So, okay, we get it. We will dive into some content. So, like I said, we were both speaking at this event in Miami, heard your chat, thought, okay, this is brilliant. Let's talk about it. So we're gonna dive into split testing everything. And first of all, I want to ask you, like, is that a real thing? Should we be split testing everything, or what should our mindset or approach be as we look at split testing?
Okay, so the reality and practicality of split testing every single individual element on a website, it's just not realistic. You can't do it.
Yep.
But the phrase split test everything, it really means you got to question your assumptions, because there's so much info out there where someone just posts and goes, this is the way to do it. This is the best. I have declared it. And here's like a screenshot of the $7 million I made in 25 seconds this morning. Right. And it's all BS. You don't know like what you're looking at, but that's how a lot of the common sense wisdom in e-commerce, because it's such a young industry, comes to be. It's just like whoever was the loudest voice with the best presentation in their tweet becomes our best practices. And I'm guilty of doing stuff like that too. I think we all are once you have an audience online. And so 2020, I went, I'm going to really like figure out split testing and really question this stuff and figure out, put my money where my mouth is. It gives some legit advice. And it took some efforts of playing, and I ended up 2 years later really mastering Google Optimize. I feel very comfortable with it. And so
amazing.
So number one, master Google Optimize to the point where I could figure out like, all right, this is a realistic split test to run. We could figure this out. And we don't have to guess like, well, will this perform better? Does X perform better than Y? I don't need to guess anymore. Like I could just go have Google tell me. Just test it. And so that's really freeing. But what also blew my mind was the number of times I was wrong about what the winner would be.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've been doing this a long time, right? I've been doing this a long time. We talk about this with ad copy a lot, right? Like we're pros. This is what we do day in and day out. We're spending tens of millions a month, Like we know our stuff, but you still got to test because sometimes your gut, even though we trust it a lot, sometimes your gut is just wrong, right? You need to lean on data. That's the better way to go for sure. So one quick note on tools to optimize with, and we'll dive into kind of the first couple points. But you mentioned Google Optimize. What's the quick pitch or quick thought on why that tool versus some of the other optimization tools that are out there or split testing tools?
I really think Google Optimize has become the standard here because it's free and it's already plugged. It's like halfway integrated. Like if you're using GTM, Google Analytics, you already have most of your Google Optimize setup done.
Great. Makes sense, which really, essentially all the clients we work with, they've got Google Tag Manager. They're using Google Analytics anyway. So yeah, it makes sense that all just plugs in. Okay, cool. So let's dive in. Let's go through some interesting split tests, which I would say have some kind of surprising results, which I think will be a ton of fun for people to listen to. So first one. This was something you guys recently tested. I want you to talk about it, kind of the results you saw. But should price appear on the collection/grid pages? So first of all, describe what that means, which is always difficult in a podcast setting. But what is that test? And then what did you guys find out?
All right, so you're shopping on a jewelry store and you go to, I want to shop product by type. I'm looking for tennis bracelets. I don't know who still wears a tennis bracelet these days.
I think they're pretty popular. Yeah.
Click through to tennis bracelet. You are now in Shopify, this would be a collection page. In the rest of the e-commerce universe, this is a category page. On that page, which is a listing of products, do you include price? Which will perform better, with price or without? I don't know.
Dude, that's a good question, right? Because you think like, hey, you want people just clicking on stuff they feel comfortable buying, that they feel like fits their budget or whatever. So yeah, maybe you think you want price to be visible on that collection page. But what say you? Or more importantly, what does the data say?
And the answer is maybe you do, maybe you don't. It depends so much. So you have to test this yourself. But the first time we ran this test, it increased revenue per session. So this revenue per session, good way to combine conversion rate and average order value.
Yep.
Increased revenue per session 23.6%. And this was in an apparel store. With 97% confidence. So pretty good. And like this test had, a sample size of like 10,000 or more. Really solid results. So we ran it again. And we did it on mobile. And then we did it on desktop. And we did it on new. And we did it on returning customer. Same result every time. Then we ran it in some other stores. Consistent result. Ran it a few more times. And we found it really depends on the category of product. It is either going, this is one I just wouldn't blindly do. You have to test this yourself. But I suspect what's going on here is when someone is on, this is my hypothesis, I'm on the product page, I see the item with no price. My brain is going to decide. Yeah, the category page. My brain is going to decide a value for that price, whether I think about it or not. Value subjective. I click through, I'm on the product page, I see the actual price. Is that below or above what I thought it was going to be? If they're consistently less than what people thought, so you had this like really great presentation and your prices are a good value, I think that's when conversion rate goes up. When it's the other way around, I think that's when it goes down. But in testing it, I think my guess is like 2/3 of stores fall into the former category.
Yeah,
where this is a win.
Interesting. But I wonder, like, let's say it is a good value. Let's say you've got this value in your mind, or maybe you don't. But when you view that category page with the price, if it's a good price, if it's a good value, I think that would still have a benefit, right? You're still looking at it, you're thinking, oh, that's great. Like, let me dig in a little bit more, right? So you're kind of someone may have a mental win or get excited even just seeing it on the collection page. But regardless, interesting.
That's why you got to test it.
Got to test it, right? So it worked in most cases, but not all. I like that. So here's a good one. And this is one that I wouldn't have thought to test necessarily, but it makes sense. How important is font size? So the size of the text on your pages, does it matter? Does it not matter? What did you find out? And why did you test this, by the way?
So I'm a big believer I'm a big typography nerd. I like type. I like fonts.
Which I noticed, like looking at ethercycle.com, which everybody go check it out just to see. It's a super fun, well-designed website. You can tell you like typography. It's beautiful and interesting fonts. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's got this like real retro look.
Yeah.
But I thought like easier to read will perform better, will convert better. Like if a site's hard to read, I'm not going to fight my way through it. I'm just going to leave. I don't think there's really any dispute there. But so I wanted to prove this with data. And so I set out and I started testing different sizes of font. I'm going to split test my way to determine the exact right font size. Well, it turns out a test with a really subtle small change like that, it's so hard to get to statistical significance. Yeah. And so I couldn't, no matter which way I set it up, no matter how dramatic that change was, I could not get a statistically significant answer out of it. But I knew font size and was important, but really it turns out readability is what's important. I was looking too granular. The real picture here is readability. So this is one ends up being a trick question. You would have to do like in different layouts and split test those. And so we didn't do it, but around the same time, Baymard Institute came out with a usability study. And they do like these they call them large scale usability studies. And they figured out here is guidelines, a starting point for ideal readability on fonts. And if you think about like magazines and newspapers, they have those real narrow columns.
Yep.
That's what makes stuff easy to read, is like you want to follow print typesetting that we have at this point used for centuries, ever since the Gutenberg Bible.
Yes.
And so line length is 60 to, you want a line length of 60 to 80 characters. And so like if you go on your website and you put it full screen and the text just goes like end to end, all right, we're not optimized here.
It's not inviting to read. It feels like work. It feels really difficult to get to the meaning of what you're putting on the page.
I remember at school you used to like double space your papers so that you could fill it more.
Well, it turns out promise. Yeah.
1.5 is an ideal readable line height. And then you can also you can mess with paragraph spacing, word spacing, letter spacing. They have those. I tried just putting them blindly into a few websites. It didn't look quite right. So I think it's a starting point. You have to tweak it from there. But if it's really just that, like, how many characters are on a line? You got 2 sentences, they're not going to read it. You got like 5 words, perfect, easy to read. And so I like those like narrow product descriptions. I think that performs well.
Yeah, I love it. And just to kind of illustrate this point, I don't know if you guys are this way as well, but just to share a little bit of my my weirdness. The friend of mine got me a leadership book, gave me this leadership book that he raved about, and I believed him. I believed it was a good leadership book. But when you open up the pages, there are certain pages that are 1 paragraph. So the entire page is a paragraph. And then wall-to-wall text, right, is like the least inviting page ever. And I'm like, I still just I've not read it for that reason, which is silly. Like there's probably some great content there, and I'm not reading it because it's so uninviting to read. So
yeah, so if you format it poorly, no matter how good the content is, you look at it and it's just wall of text. Yeah. It's a turnoff. People aren't going to bother.
What am I back at
use
school?
The enter key. Put some line breaks in there, man.
Exactly. Okay, so readability is greater than font size, or readability is what really matters. Font size, you could kind of go one way or the other, but the goal
I would say like, just as a rule of thumb, like for body font, really 16 is probably the minimum. If it's a really chunky font, maybe 15. But I'd say for most sites, it's like 16, 17, 18 pixel.
Nice. Okay, good stuff. Good, easy win there, and helps us focus in the right way. Let's talk about one that I know is a real hot button. This is something that, and honestly, this may be something that people have a foregone conclusion on, right? They believe in one way very strongly, but that's free shipping, right? Free shipping is a must, right?
Free shipping. Oh my gosh, free shipping is a must-have. We've been told forever. That you have to have that the number one cause of abandoned checkouts is unexpected shipping expense. My God, these monsters charging for shipping. What? That's a government service.
Early 2000s. What's with this website charging for shipping?
Ugh, disgusting. So, is this the case? And it turns out split testing free shipping, not the easiest thing to do, but at least like in the Shopify universe, you could do it with dedicated apps, and I'm sure there's several, but the 2 we use successfully, Ship Scout and IntelliGems, will let you do split test shipping rates. And so we tried this in several stores they got different results, but I'll illustrate one here. The effects were always very similar. And so we were able to track checkout conversion rate when we offered no free shipping at all. Everybody just paid free shipping at $25 and free shipping at $75. And what was interesting is the checkout conversion rate for all of those things were within a few points of each other. Like
Wow.
our checkout conversion rate, meaning people who started the checkout, for no free shipping was 72%. For free shipping at $25, that was the highest. All right, we got the lowest, but it was still under 80%. And then free shipping at $75, right in the middle, like right at 75.
Interesting.
So it's not,
but 72 was with no free shipping at all.
yeah. So I'm really not gaining. I'm gaining very little. Like it's just marginal gains with these free shipping. And so I think we should reward like our whale VIP clients. If your average order value is $50, then, it should be a no-brainer that someone who spends $200 should get free shipping. Fine. I'm not going to dispute that one. But that's more as customer service, really. And so I think it gets interesting when you start to consider profit per order, profit per checkout, because especially since shipping keeps getting more and more expensive.
Totally.
And so many people switch to e-commerce more than they ever had before in 2020 that I think as consumers get more sophisticated, they're also more willing to pay for shipping and be understanding about it, depending on the item. And so in this particular test, we knew our average fulfillment cost was $7.50 an order. And when we ran, so we could calculate profit per visitor, our $25 rate was where we performed the best. That had a $12 profit per visitor. But when we didn't offer free shipping at all, which we only lost a little bit of conversion, that had a almost $20 profit per visitor.
Dude,
so
crazy.
I sacrifice a little bit of conversion, but then I gain considerable profit, like 40%.
Right.
And so that's why it really pays to take a hard look at what does shipping cost us and what's free shipping cost us in profit. As a cost center.
I love that. And I think, again, this just underscores the need to split test things, because a lot of us just believe, hey, because Amazon's been free shipping forever, we have to be free shipping with our products on our stores. And the reality is you need to test it, because maybe it's not boosting your conversion rates that much, and maybe it's just eating in to profits. So you got to test it. Love that one.
Well, and you know what I like too is when you're not offering free shipping just all the time as a threshold, then you can use that as a promo instead of having to do the traditional we discounted our product.
Yeah.
Hey, boom, we're offered free shipping this weekend only. Go.
Yep. Super easy, then built-in promotions. And now it's legitimate. Right now it's real because you don't offer it the rest of the time. You are offering it now. So easy,
we got that
built-in promos. Love
that
it.
urgency.
Yep. That's awesome. Cool. So let's go back to collection pages. So you wanted to split test hero images. Do we put hero images on our collection slash category pages? What is that? And explain what is a hero image, and then what did you find with that split test?
All right. So I'm shopping on, funkyt-shirts.com. I click men's funky t-shirts. Boom, right at the top. There's 3 dudes in RoboCop t-shirts in a banner image.
By the way, do you have a Tech Nasty t-shirt? Because if not, you should probably have one designed.
Tech Nasty.
I don't, but I got to work on that.
Yeah. Sure. So funky t-shirts.
So yeah, men's funky t-shirts. And there's 3 dudes in RoboCop t-shirts looking funky. But it pushes all my products down the page. I've got this big banner at the top. I got to wait for it to load. Mm-hmm. But it looks great. So I'm pro hero image because I think it makes a difference when you've got a really nice, well done image. And
so hero image, that's the image at the top of the category page, kind of frames what is this category or collection all about.
That's that banner.
It's
always a lifestyle image.
Yep.
Almost always. Or an action shot. So this is pretty cool. I love these. But all right, does this matter? Should we test it? So we did. And this was in a store where they look great. They had put in the effort. And it cost us conversions having it there. It performed way better without it.
Crazy.
So my revenue per session up 16%, 92% confidence. well, maybe that's just because like on desktop it doesn't look right, or on mobile it doesn't look right. So we tested that. We ran this one again, same store, mobile versus desktop, new versus returning. Every single one of them performed better without the darn banner image. And my thinking is, it's scroll debt. There's like, I got this banner at the top, but I'm already shopping. So all you've done is presented me with a thing I have to load and scroll past just to get to what I wanted to do. Right? If they're at that category page, they're already shopping. Stop selling. They've already started shopping.
I like that, and I would agree with you too. Like if you look at a good collection page, good category page, it's got that brilliant hero image. You're like, yeah, I like this. You show me 2 pages, one with, one without. The one with the hero image is going to look better, right? But you make a very good point. If someone lands on the home page, they get to the collection or category page, they're already in shopping mode. Just show me the freaking products at that point and let me shop. Or if they land, the only time you really land on a collection or category page is if you're doing non-brand search or something like that, where it's a very specific search that again is very product focused. Otherwise, they're going to be landing on something else first and then getting to a collection page. So
yes,
this makes a lot of sense. And with a 16% increase in revenue per session, yes, please. I'll save that. I'll save that load time, pull that hero image, and make more money there. So if you would, and I love the way you frame this, that this is kind of a great way to look at both conversion rate and AOV at the same time. But talk about revenue per session and how you guys kind of landed on that. Has that always been the key metric for you guys? And
no,
how'd you guys land on that?
No, I mean, so as far as my like e-commerce KPIs go, if I'm just like yanking on levers to scale businesses, average order value is my favorite because you don't have to get new customers, which is the hardest thing. And you don't have to convert more customers, which is tough.
Yep.
You could just sell not even a ton more, just a little bit more on average to every customer, and you make significantly more money. I love AOV as this. But in conversion rate optimization, it's in the title. We would always look at conversion rate as our main KPI. But it's not the only one. It's not perfect. Like if the further your test is away from that checkout where the conversion happens, the more noise that's getting introduced here.
Right. What really raised the conversion rate there if it's not there at checkout? Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly, like, there is so much statistical noise and questionability in split tests. And, like, you just can't post a split test on the internet without a whole bunch of people coming out of the woodwork to be like, here's why you're wrong.
Here's why you're
wrong. Like, okay, well, we all know it's because this disagreed with what you assumed it would be, right, buddy? But no, all right. So this always turns into a pitch for Google Optimize. I swear I have no association.
It's a free tool, people.
Yeah. In Google Optimize, it'll ask you like, what's your primary objective? And you transactions is what they call conversions in e-commerce. And you could do revenue, which now it's revenue per session, and we're combining really conversion rate and average order value. I like that. But there's a whole bunch of others. But you can choose multiple. So you don't just have to commit to one. And so when you see like consistent results across like conversion and revenue per session, that's usually what I'm looking for. But you could also do like add to cart, bounce rate, page views. Sometimes we'll use those if it's more like engagement focused. But no, you don't just have to use one. I'll usually set 2 or 3, and then that way I feel more confident when I see that results are like fairly consistent across multiple KPIs.
Yep, I love it. But I love that it's a good blend there because what's the benefit in increasing conversion rate if our AOV goes down, right? Which can happen sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That's where shifting that free shipping threshold can really have an impact. Yes, conversion rate went up, but AOV went down. So in the end, we made less money. But that's where that revenue per session really kind of helps combine those two and clarify things, which is great. So awesome. Let's move on to the next test. I got a couple more here. These are super fascinating. So should you include recently viewed products on the product detail page? So here we are. We're at the product detail page. We're looking at this funky t-shirt. Should we also there show, hey, remember you also looked at these other funky t-shirts. Is that a distraction or does that actually help with conversions? What did you find?
So, all right, as the designer in my heart just wants to get rid of extraneous elements on a site. Like that's the easy way to conversion rate optimization. Is just try and keep people captive by getting rid of distractions. Declutter. And a recently viewed products widget on a cart. Who is this for? I have a history button, I got history, a back button.
Do I not
I'm taking
remember what I
notes.
looked
Who
at 5
knows?
seconds ago? No.
I'm going to get emails, browse abandonment. I'm going to get remarketing ads. And so this was a thing, like I want to justify, for a client, I want to justify getting rid of a recently viewed items widget. And they're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want as long as you show us the data first. All right, fine.
Smart.
Like, challenge accepted. And so I tested this thing, and it was net improvement. Let's see. Yeah, it was everything increased when it was present versus when it was removed. And this annoyed me. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting rid of this thing. And so I run the test again, mobile versus desktop, same result. Darn it. Run the test again, new versus returning. This is where it got interesting. For returning visitors, it's increasing conversion rate by 33%. And we had this thing on the cart page and the product page. New visitors, it must have just been weird for them to see. It decreased conversion rate by 9%.
So decreased conversion rates for
for
new
them,
visitor,
it was extraneous. So in Google Optimize, you could deploy, it's called deploy personalization. And so it, like when I ran the test that said, hey, hide this for new people, and that's a win, I could just have Google Optimize do that. So you could use it to run personalization. So if it sees a new visitor, it hides that recently viewed item widget. And if it returning visitor, then it doesn't do anything.
But returning visitor increased conversion rate by 33%. That's crazy. Yeah, but I would tend to agree with you, or at least I could make the case there that, yeah, it's just a distraction. Why have it there? But your client was wise and said, nope, show me with the data. And the data said otherwise. So you have the recently viewed products. You keep it on the product detail page at this point. So brilliant test. Love that. What about, now this one's super interesting to me. Add to cart from the collection page, yay or nay. So I'm on that collection page or that category page. There's that quick add button or add to cart right there. Or do you want to view it, or do you want to do a quick view or whatever? So what happened there? Do we put the add to cart on the collection page or not?
It depends, but I think the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so we ran this test again. I tried to do, like, at least for pulling these examples with data, I tried to do apparel stores for everything because it's very relatable, it's very general, and that's also one of the biggest categories in e-commerce. But in this case, adding it increased revenue per visitor 15% with 85% confidence. So that's like right at the minimum for where we're still statistically feeling this is statistically significant. But having the add to cart on a collection or category page is really convenient, especially if you're on a slower connection, you're making multiple purchases and items. And so I think it's definitely going to depend on the store's catalog and like what the products are. If I'm buying body jewelry, if I'm buying nuts and bolts, if I was just buying buttons for an arcade machine, and I was like, I swear, I wish this site would let me add to cart because I need like 16 buttons in different colors. And I have to go like back and forth. And right away, I knew that's the use case. And so if you have like these less spec-driven, lower price, similar items, add to cart for sure.
For sure.
If it's like a MacBook, like real high price technical items, they're not, I don't need to add like 5 different
You're always
MacBooks.
going to go to the product detail page before you purchase, right? Yeah.
So certainly some common sense needs to be used here. And Baymard Institute, they did a usability study recently. They felt, they made a similar argument, but they liked quick view, where it like opens a window with more info, but keeps you on the collection page.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go back and forth, which on a phone could be annoying for sure.
Yeah, so then you just look at maybe turning that off for the mobile experience and keeping it running for desktop, or is that an option?
I think on mobile you do. Oh, for sure. I think increasingly we need these like mobile specific and desktop specific optimizations. I think they help a lot. But no, I really think it's more like product and category dependent. If it's $50 and less, definitely consider this. And if it's like a lot of similar stuff, definitely consider it.
Totally makes sense. But yeah, if it's a high ticket item and you're going to be digging into that product detail page every time before you add to cart, then it's less important. Yeah.
You could also do it like, if you want to get fancy, do it per category or collection.
Yeah. So
like let's say I sell,
category to the other, yeah.
I'm selling drones. All right, I probably don't, on the drones page, I don't want it. But then on the accessories, like I'm buying SD cards and
Accessories or the
batteries.
parts, the replacement parts page or whatever.
Then I could use it.
Yep. Yeah, that's interesting. So maybe go collection by collection or category by category. Super interesting.
Same with the
Sounds like a
price
split
thing.
test to me. I like it. So last one that we're gonna last split test result we're gonna dive into. Then we got some general tips which are super helpful, kind of as we wrap up. So what about breadcrumbs? Do we need the breadcrumbs? And in the early days, in my early e-commerce days, we supported a Magento agency, and so we ran all the marketing for Magento agency and all their clients, and super fun. But I know breadcrumbs were a big part of Magento, at least back in the day. But that's so. First of all, though, explain.
Magento went hard on really making these gigantic, faceted breadcrumbs.
Yeah, they loved the breadcrumbs. So for those that maybe don't know, explain what breadcrumbs are, and then what'd you find with the test results?
So a breadcrumb, it's always there's a consistency to it. It's always 14-point font in the upper left, and it tells you starting from the homepage where you're at on the site. So really it's it's a drill down. It's home, department, product, or, subcategory, then product. And this just seems like a thing in the way. I'm on the site, I'm on the product page, I can just click the back button. So I thought, I'm like, this is just, what am I doing with this? I don't want this thing. And so again, I'm like, it's extraneous. I'm going to remove it. And so I got to split test it. And it turned out on that one, I was wildly wrong. On the product page, increased revenue per visitor by 53% with 92% confidence.
That's insane.
Because what's going on?
People love their freaking breadcrumbs. But yeah, why? Why?
This is another one where when you get rid of the breadcrumbs, if I had just by straight conversion, it improves conversions. But at what cost? Because it's they get to the product page, they go, cool, add to cart, and then they leave. Whereas when I had the breadcrumbs, and you could see this in heat maps and screen recordings, they're using it as navigation. So they go back and they shop more. And so when I got rid of the breadcrumbs, all I did was sacrifice people buying multiple items. Because I made it a pain.
It's crazy. Yeah, so people were adding to cart and or purchasing. So conversion rate went up. But and again, that's why you got to look at it holistically. Conversion rate isn't the only metric, right? People are buying less, they're spending less. So conversion rate only in this case actually hurt. So yeah, they're adding that item to the cart, but then they've got the breadcrumbs there where they can go back to the category or two categories, go whatever. They can now easily continue to shop. So
if you sell more than one item,
yeah.
you probably have to have the breadcrumbs. There's there'd be a rare handful of scenarios where you didn't want the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, all right, we got to make breadcrumbs work, look good, be even better. Gotta optimize my breadcrumbs now.
So we wanted to get rid of them, stupid breadcrumbs, but they make a difference. Now we got to make them smarter, better. So which by the way, how do you optimize breadcrumbs? Do you have any thoughts or theories there?
So in Shopify, the breadcrumbs are a little limited. They normally look at hey, what's the collection URL? They look at the URL to fix it. And so we rewrote it where it can use, if it doesn't know how the person, if they just landed on the product page, how do you develop the breadcrumb? Yep. And so adding some logic to backfill that in, either you can have it check what was the last collection they look at with a cookie and add that in. And then if that's not present, okay, let's look at the products, maybe the vendor or the product type, and then use that to try and backfill the collection. This if you're really getting deep in the weeds by the time you're doing this one.
Deep, but this is interesting. And I mean, this happens, right? So we run a lot of Google Shopping traffic. It's one of our core channels, but a lot of people then parachute in on that product detail page. So if I land on the
so
product
in
detail
that use
page,
case, this is a win.
Yeah, for sure. Having those breadcrumbs there, they're going to buy more items for sure. So, okay. Love it. So there we have it. There were 7 unique, interesting split tests, several of which surprised you and would have surprised me if you hadn't already told me the results. So super interesting there. What about, let's close out with just some general tips. What tips would you give people as they're going on this journey to increase conversions and AOV and all that good stuff?
So for sure, there's some good advice here. I tried to keep it to things that will be generally helpful, but you got to question everything. And that's when you see people sharing their wins and their results and their split tests. And this is what I did. Okay, that's what they did. That's not,
Yes.
that doesn't mean it's what you should do.
And you don't even know how they did it, right? What if they didn't even get a
Yes.
statistically significant result? What if they just got the result they wanted and they want to share it,
And even if they did get it statistically significant, it was
might not fit
significant
for them.
for their audience, their catalog, offer, etc. It's not the same for you.
Yep.
And so when people are like, oh, I'll post something and they'll start questioning like not often, but they'll question like the methodology because they're trying to get to like, well, here's why this is invalid. And to those, I'd say like, look, I'm sorry that it disagreed with what you thought, right? Because that's really what they're saying.
Sorry you don't like the truth. It's okay.
Yeah. But also it doesn't matter for you. Like just go, you run that same test on your store and see what happens. And so I think, question everything about other so-called experts. There's just being in the space, there's a fire hose of great info.
So many.
And so who do you listen to?
So many experts. Yes.
Yeah. And certainly I'm part of the problem here. And then also question your own assumptions, right? And so like there's all kinds of elements on your homepage, on your website. Why are they there? What are they doing? Until you've split test them, you really have no idea if they help or hurt. You're just guessing.
I think I heard you and Paul talking about this on a podcast episode, right? Where we all were in love with the sliders on the homepage, right? Like we all want sliders at the top of our homepage. Yeah, because that's what you do. That's what you've done since 2000 or the late 90s or whatever. But what have you guys found there? And I know we kind of finished the split test, but you found some interesting stuff there, I believe, recently.
So that collection homepage test, or that collection test where it's like, does the hero help or hurt? Yeah. We did the same darn thing on the homepages, and same result. It always performed better without the homepage hero image. And the reason really is what's going on is because the second thing is always like featured promos and a product grid, like a featured collection on a site. And so you're just getting them shopping faster again. It's the same premise. That one really like blows people away. They're like, but we have to have them. I don't know. Have you been to Google.com lately? Where's their slider, right? Exactly. Like you don't have to have a slider.
Yeah. That's awesome. So other tools you had mentioned. So you mentioned Google Optimize. Love it. What other tools would you suggest people check out?
Well, I really like Hotjar. You also want to combine this with like a heat map tool, screen recording tool, so you could get a macro view of how people are using the site and micro views. But then I think ultimately the real deal number one conversion rate optimization hack is talking to your customers. So few people want to talk to their customers. And that's where you get like the really great test ideas, is when you talk to people and you go, because every customer will be like, well, they'll speak for everyone. I want this and that and that. Well, maybe they're right. And so when you go test those things, that's what we've had the biggest wins, is taking a customer suggested idea from a phone interview and put that onto a site and then test it.
Super interesting. So let me get this straight. You're actually calling customers on the phone, talking to them with words, not typing or something like that, but you're getting feedback from the customer and then you're implementing those into split tests.
In rare occurrence, yes.
Yeah.
That is the most powerful thing you can do, is pick up the phone. No one wants to use phone.app, but like that's the one that prints money.
But it works, man. It absolutely works. That's awesome. Any final tips? And then I want to point people to you so they can check out more of your brilliance as they go. But any final tips? I know we could talk about this for hours and hours.
I mentioned a few tools. Use the tools you like. I don't care what tools you use, so long as you're doing the work. Like whatever you're comfortable with, that's great. Perfect. You don't have to justify it to anybody. We mentioned it earlier, but I think it's a mistake to just like solely and laser in on conversion rate, especially in Google Optimize, where you can have secondary goals. And I think revenue is a really good one to work with. And then certainly I think the other mistake is lumping everyone together. And so I would consider segmentation, especially mobile versus desktop and new versus returning.
Yeah, mobile versus desktop, two very different experiences and different modes, different mindsets people have. And then, it's another simple segmentation, new versus returning, because like you showed with the with several of your tests, actually, that the new visitors behave differently than return visitors, which makes a lot of sense, actually, if you think about it. So, Kurt, this has been awesome. So go check out the Unofficial Shopify podcast, one of my all-time favorites. You got to listen. But if people listen to this and they're like, dude, I want to hire Kurt and his team to work for me tell us a little bit about EtherCycle. Who do you work with, and how can someone reach out to you?
Ethercycle.com, you could find us, and we work exclusively with Shopify store owners. We've been since 2014, I think. And
That's awesome.
We do, really, we're a theme shop. We build a lot of custom themes. We do store migrations, but we also do maintenance programs and conversion rate optimization work.
Yeah, and you guys did all the work recently for Overtone, which is Ezra Firestone's company. We worked on that together. So you guys did a lot of the build side. We're doing the Google and YouTube and Amazon side. But yeah, what would you do for Overtone specifically?
Overtone, that one was interesting. They were on Shopify, but it was headless. And so we built an entirely custom theme, and that designed and developed a custom theme, and then migrated back to Shopify, got rid of the headless solution entirely, which just simplified IT and admin for them, made life a lot easier. And some of these split tests we mentioned
wins too, didn't it?
Some of these split tests were run in that store.
Yeah. It's done quite well. I think it was an improvement. I know there's this rage for headless, which is a topic for a different day, and there's scenarios where it makes sense. But yeah, in this case, simplify, run some of these tests. It was definitely a win for Overtone for sure. So awesome. Kurt Elster, ladies and gentlemen, hit that Tech Nasty button one more time. Oh, that one too.
Tech Nasty.
Awesome. Kurt, this has been super fun, man. Thank you so much. And we will have to, it's been too long. I think the last time you were on this show was like 4 years ago. So we will.
4 years ago.
Ew.
That is too long.
I know. It's no good. So we'll have to just get it on the calendar, get you back as a regular guest. So much appreciated, my man. This was awesome. Looking forward to next time.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Could not do this show without you. In fact, it'd be pretty lonely. It'd be pretty pointless to do this show without you. And hey, if you're listening to the show and you think, man, this is enriching my life, this is making me more money, this is improving my e-commerce experience, then share it with somebody else. We would love that. And leave us that review on iTunes if you think it deserves it. And with that, until next time, thank you for listening.